Axient Wisdom Lesson warmly greets you all. I once shared an internationally circulated ranking about levels of loneliness. Which level can you endure? Level 1 is going to the supermarket alone. Level 2 is dining alone at a restaurant. Level 3 is going to a cafe alone. Often, what determines the direction of one's life is not intelligence or talent, but the ability to control one's emotions. The weak often become slaves to their feelings, while the strong have long since risen above them. For a mature person, your emotions are your destiny. Which level are you at? People with very few friends, or even not a single friend, usually fall into 8 types, and each type is far from simple. People steadfast in their goals. Someone once felt deeply saddened because his pet fish died. He wanted to cremate the fish and scatter its ashes into the sea so they could return to the ocean. But while roasting it, the delicious aroma rose up, making him unable to resist. He burst out laughing and ate it with beer. The story is humorous, but it also reflects reality. We often veer off course and abandon our goals midway. People steadfast in their goals are often lonely because they constantly strive and accept every challenge. They are often strict with themselves and others, so they do not have many friends. When a glass is full of milk, people call it milk. When it is full of oil, people call it oil. Only when the glass is empty do people call it a glass. When your mind is full of prejudice, knowledge, or achievements, you are no longer yourself. You may have everything, but you lose yourself. When I took my university entrance exam, I scored only 16 points, while my mother's friend's child scored 29 and entered a prestigious university. It asked its mother, "If we will be eaten when we grow up, why must we grow up?" The mother pig replied, "Even though we will all be eaten in the end, the joy of the present moment is still real. Instead of worrying about pain that has not yet come, why don't you enjoy the happiness of the present?" Find and persistently pursue your goal. Do not waste time on meaningless relationships. Do not socialize just for the sake of socializing. Sadhguru once said that only when your happiness and joy do not depend on anyone or anything can you be truly free. Otherwise, whether you are walking on the street or imprisoned in jail, you are still a prisoner of yourself. Miyazaki Hayao also once said, "Do not easily rely on others, because when you lose them, you do not just lose a person, you also lose your spiritual support. Learn to walk on your own. It will make you stronger." In Journey to the West, when Sun Wukong was just an ordinary monkey, no one paid attention to him. But when he became the great sage equal to heaven, all the gods wanted to befriend him. When Sun Wukong fell from grace, when he was trapped under the 5 elements mountain, everyone disappeared. For 500 years, his sworn brothers who had once vowed to live and die together were nowhere to be found. This is the coldness of the human world, the indifference of society. As long as you are willing to invite guests, many people will want to sit and eat with you. As long as you have money, distant relatives will find their way to you. But when you fall on hard times, even if you offer your most sincere heart, you will still be surrounded by emptiness. In this world, no one can be by your side forever. Even your shadow will leave you in the dark. Fate is like a long river flowing from one bank to the other. You need to learn how to row your own boat. Understand your goals and direction clearly. Do not expect anyone to become your ferryman. Number 2. People who only see others' faults. A high-ranking monk once wrote 4 equations on a wall. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 plus 4 equals 8. 8 plus 8 equals 16. 9 plus 9 equals 19. After seeing this, the disciples all said, "Master, you calculated 1 equation wrong." The monk calmly replied, "You looked very carefully. I did get the last one wrong. But why did no one look at the 3 correct ones and focus only on this mistake?" This is the law. One negative cancels out many positives. Even if you have been good to others hundreds of times, if you hurt them just once, all that previous goodness can be erased. Therefore, even if you think you have done many good things, do not squander the relationship. Do not underestimate 1 or 2 instances of causing harm, and do not think your goodness can compensate for that hurt. A Japanese wise man once visited a director. When serving tea, the director noticed a chip on the cup and apologetically said, "I am sorry, this cup is chipped at the corner." The wise man replied, "If you just choose an angle that does not look at the chip, this cup is still completely intact. I think this cup is very beautiful. Everyone has flaws. If you do not overly focus on those flaws, then everyone is a good person." This seemingly ordinary sentence contains profound wisdom. If you only focus on others' flaws, you will lose all your friends. But if you know how to see their strengths and do not dwell on their flaws, the door to their soul will open, and they will regard you as a kindred spirit. In life, we will encounter all kinds of people with different destinies. Opportunities and choices create differences in social class. Murakami Haruki once said, "Not all fish live in the same ocean. Each person's soul has a different depth, and their way of viewing things is also different." Different levels of cultivation lead to different styles of conduct. No one can guarantee they will never make a mistake or hurt anyone in their lifetime. When you want to criticize others, remember that not everyone has had the same favorable conditions as you. Conversely, when you can tolerate others' imperfections, you will understand the meaning of forgiveness. I really like the saying, "A person needs a window to see the outside world and a mirror to look into their inner self." Through the window, you see the light of the world. Through the mirror, you see your own shortcomings. Everyone makes mistakes and has flaws. If you frequently criticize others, you will sink into a vicious cycle of blame and complaint, causing friends to drift away. Only by frequently examining yourself can you continuously surpass yourself. Albert Ellis once said, "People with a critical personality will make you feel suppressed and unable to see your own value, ultimately becoming someone who feels worthless." If you unfortunately encounter this type of person, do not try to change them, as you will only invite failure and hurt. Also, avoid becoming such a person yourself. Number 3. Very intelligent people. If you have few friends or even none at all, you are very likely a highly intelligent person. Your intellect may far surpass that of ordinary people. A psychologist at the University of London studied 1,500 people regarding their level of happiness when in a social state and when completely alone. For people with average or below average IQ, most felt happier when with friends, and the more friends they had, the happier they were. A student wrote an essay titled, "Only by enduring life's hardships can one become exceptional." This essay received a 0 from a professor at a university. Because the professor understood a simple truth, if enduring more hardship means being superior, then the richest person in the world must surely be a beggar. Additionally, intelligent people often participate in social activities for personal gain, while ordinary people mainly seek emotional support or attention from others. Warren Buffett often sat alone during his school years while his peers played and socialized. Elon Musk had a similar childhood, even frequently being bullied at school. This shows that inanimate objects are often very fragile and lack resilience. In contrast, living organisms are the opposite. They have the ability to resist fragility because their bodies can always develop and evolve naturally. The human body is an example of the ability to overcome adversity, and so is nature. Everyone has tried at some point to force themselves to fit in to avoid loneliness. But after experiencing many things, you will realize that the more you try to fit in, the lonelier you feel. True loneliness is not the silence of being alone, but losing yourself amidst endless noise. Forcing yourself to fit in is like the Russian Tetris game. When you fit in, you also disappear. Trying to fit in is the process of denying yourself. Besides making things difficult for yourself, you will not change anything. We fear loneliness and crave companionship, but people who like to gather in crowds are not necessarily happy, and those who like to be alone are not necessarily lonely. There is a modern condition called addiction to loneliness. More and more people enjoy eating hot pot alone, strolling alone, or watching movies alone and find joy in solitude. Ultimately, the loneliness of being alone is not scary. What is scary is when two people are together yet still feel lonely. Author Taikang Young once said, "Be good to yourself, because the person who gets drunk with you may not truly be by your side." People who like to be alone usually understand clearly what they need and live with direction. Loneliness chosen by oneself is not loneliness. Forcing oneself to fit in is true loneliness. People who only care about themselves. 8 people went to Chengshui Temple and encountered a storm while passing a dilapidated temple. When they took shelter in the temple, a fireball appeared, rolling back and forth in front of the door, accompanied by the roar of dragons in the sky. Everyone was terrified. One of us 8 must have done something immoral. Whoever did something wrong should step outside to face punishment, so the good people are not implicated. But no one dared to admit they had done something wrong, and no one stepped out. At this moment, someone suggested, if no one is willing to step out, let us each throw our straw hat out the door. Whose hat is blown away by the wind, that person must take responsibility. Everyone agreed and threw their hats out one by one. The hats of 7 people were blown back by the wind. Only one person's hat was carried away. Everyone immediately pushed that person outside. But as soon as he was pushed out, if in a group of one person is isolated, it is very likely that person is good, honest, and has no ulterior motives. Conversely, petty people often band together to isolate others. Selfish people have one common trait: the better you treat them, the more they take advantage. Never argue logically with a selfish person, because they always have their own distorted system of logic, which will only exhaust you. In fact, selfishness is not innate, but created by the family environment. Let us look at 2 real stories. On a high-speed train, a mother gave her child $100 to buy a meal. The boy bought 3 portions to share with his parents. But instead of thanking him, his father scolded him, "Why did you buy so much?" His mother got angry. "I gave you $100 and you spent it all. I told you to buy 1 portion and you did not listen. Give them all to me, I will not eat." Under criticism, the boy had to put aside the 2 extra portions and cried while eating under his parents' urging. During a family dinner with fish, the daughter picked a piece of fish for her grandmother. Then she picked another piece for her grandfather. The grandfather said, "I do not need it, you eat it to stay healthy." After the meal, the mother reminded the grandmother and grandfather, "Next time, if the child offers you food, just accept it and say thank you." Please subscribe to Ancient Wisdom Lesson to not miss any exciting videos. She called for help, saying she was arguing with her boyfriend and needed Sarah to come. But when Sarah arrived, her friend's boyfriend hit her in the eye with a glass. She then needed over 30 stitches, and due to the severity, she lost one eye. 3 months later, her best friend returned to her boyfriend. In the end, the boyfriend was sentenced to 4 years in prison and ordered to pay compensation of $30,000. But Sarah must live her entire life with one eye. Nevertheless, she found happiness with a loving husband and a child on the way. People who dare to end toxic relationships are not lonely, they are brave enough to protect themselves. Otherwise, the person who gets hurt in the end will certainly be themselves. In Forrest Gump, there is a famous dialogue. Someone asked Forrest what kind of person he wanted to become. "Can I not just be myself? Life is your own and has nothing to do with anyone else. Do not live for others' evaluations, expectations, or gazes. Just live true to yourself." The audience of the Day Betters program in China certainly cannot forget Ma Vivi, the famous Peking opera queen known for her sharpness. When she first joined the program, she won the championship, but afterward she gradually lost herself as she became caught up in the public's gaze. When people criticized her for being cold, she tried to become gentler, but was then criticized for losing her sharpness. When she returned to her original style, she was accused of chasing money. Finally, Ma Vivi decided to shed all pressure and share her true story. This is the most common regret of all. When a person realizes their life is ending, they easily look back and see how many dreams remain unfulfilled. Most people have not even accomplished half of their dreams. Only when lying on their deathbed do they realize it was their own choices. They decided everything. Only by removing them from your world can you find peace again. A mouse does not think it is stealing. A fly does not think it is dirty. A snake does not know it is poisonous. If your thinking is not on the same level, there is no need to force integration. Give up unnecessary relationships to make time for what you love. Your life will get better and better. Do not expand your circle of friends too much, or you will lose yourself. People who dislike bothering others. In the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Carnegie tells a true story. In 1736, Franklin was harshly attacked by a legislator while speaking at a hospital. The legislator kept causing trouble, making Franklin very confused. As a leader, he had to find a way to reconcile with all legislators, including those who were uncooperative. Franklin heard that this legislator had a rare book collection and wrote a letter asking to borrow a book with the utmost respect. Surprisingly, the legislator agreed. After a few such exchanges, the legislator eventually greeted Franklin first. From then on, the two became close friends and maintained a deep relationship. This is the famous Ben Franklin effect. To make others like you and deepen the relationship, instead of just giving, you should let them help you. Later, this effect was applied in many fields. For example, in an MBA course, there is a classic case. Salespeople, when knocking on a customer's door, often say polite phrases like, "I am from company ABA, can I have a few minutes to introduce our product?" After hearing this, most people usually slam the door shut. But a champion vacuum cleaner salesman in the United States did something different. He politely asked for a glass of water, and then during the conversation, he skillfully mentioned his work and product. The customer did not feel pressured and even listened comfortably. This method significantly increased his success rate. In fact, the psychological principle behind the Ben Franklin effect is not complicated. It is based on Festinger's theory of cognitive dissonance and the sunk cost effect. Tolstoy once said, "We do not love others because they are good to us, but because we have been good to them." For example, why does unrequited love or a crush often last so long? Because it is also a form of emotional giving. Why, when you have lent someone money before, are you often more willing to help them again? The principle is similar. Have you noticed that since you have tried not to bother others, your number of friends has decreased? The most enduring relationship between people is when there is mutual inconvenience. When you ask someone for help, they have the opportunity to ask you. Within a reasonable range, bravely ask for help and happily accept being bothered by others. People with an avoidant personality often set a rule never to bother anyone, thinking this is a noble quality. In fact, they are afraid of being bothered by others. True friendship is mutual inconvenience. If you try to avoid interacting with others, you will gradually socialize less and less, and your friends will drift away. People who no longer want to heal others' wounds. If you see a newborn kitten rummaging through a pile of garbage, you will find it pitiful, but perhaps it feels very free. However, if you gently come over to pet it, give it a box of food, and leave, then at this moment you have made it feel pitiful. As in a poem, I could endure the darkness if I had never seen the sunlight. The sunlight only makes my loneliness more sorrowful. When faith is broken, people often become cold, even numb. In psychology, there is a concept called emotional numbness. When a person experiences a severe shock, if they encounter a similar situation again, they will no longer feel anything and will not care anymore. When you are deeply hurt by someone or something, you will go through a period of pain, self-reconstruction, and overcoming. Afterward, when faced with a similar situation, you will view it more rationally, as if from a God's eye view. Outwardly, you may seem no longer hurt. Inwardly, you will no longer trust anyone. The frightening thing is that this state is almost irreversible. Remember clearly the bad sides of others. Do not easily soften because of a few sweet words. Otherwise, all the suffering you endure is deserved. The most immature behavior of an adult is easily forgiving when in a good mood. Good things may be fake, but bad sides are always real. You will understand that you should not try to persuade others. Most people would rather drown in sweet words than be reborn from harsh truths. There is a story about two frogs. One lived in a deep lake, rarely seen by people. The other lived in a shallow ditch near the road. One day, the frog living in the deep lake advised its friend, "Do not live here anymore. This place is dangerous and hard to find food. Move to the deep lake with me. It is safe and has plenty of food." But the other frog brushed it off, did not even turn its head, and said, "Do not interfere in my business. Who knows what scheme you have in mind?" A few days later, a truck drove over the ditch. When an adult reaches a certain level, they will no longer try to educate others. They see a fool and praise him as handsome. They see a slow person and praise him as relaxed. They see a petty person and praise him as smart. These people understand everything. They just do not want to receive attacks from their good intentions. We will eventually forgive those who have hurt us. This is not forgiveness, it is letting go. An adult's life always involves compromise. Half of life is compromise. Faith being exploited, enthusiasm being rejected, causes more and more people to become timid and no longer easily make friends. Very people. Do not go to the supermarket when you are hungry, because then you will buy many unnecessary things. Do not seek love when you are lonely, because you may meet someone unsuitable. And do not dream of getting rich quickly when you have nothing, as it will only make you poorer. When thirsty, you do not choose water. When cold, you do not choose clothes. When hungry, you do not choose food. When in a state of urgent need, you will grab anything within reach, but that does not mean it is what you truly need. I will tell you a few stories to help you understand better. My mother-in-law introduced me to a project. I earned $30,000. During the new year, I gave her a red envelope with $8,000. Her family said I gave too much. My mother-in-law introduced me to another big project. I earned over $60,000, and this time gave her a red envelope with $15,000. They again said I was foolish, but within a year, thanks to my mother-in-law, I earned over $600,000. My aunt's child joined a tutoring class. Each time she went, my aunt prepared cakes and fruits for the teacher. As a result, before the final exam, my cousin improved by over 20 ranks. A cousin of mine learned to drive. Each time she went to class, she brought fruits for the instructor. The instructor never yelled at her and always gave her priority for practice. When the boss's son got married, the managers discussed it and each gave a red envelope of $888. Mr. Wang discreetly gave $1,888. Mr. Wang was promoted to a mid-level management position. My younger sister sold a villa yesterday and received a commission of $12,000. The next day, instead of inviting colleagues, my sister invited the customer to dinner. Unexpectedly, the customer introduced another new customer, helping my sister earn an additional $30,000 in commission. Instead of maintaining relationships with colleagues whose tea goes cold when you leave, befriending benefactors will help you reach a new height. In fact, it is not that society is too pragmatic or that others do not help you. It is because you have not touched their interests. Only when you link your issue with the other party's interests can you attract their attention. In this society that values emotion, if you say a few more kind words, you can please 58% of people. If you give a small gift, you can satisfy 70% of people. If you offer suitable benefits at the right time, you can convince 99% of people. In this world, what is truly invaluable is not money or power, but a mindset that makes others admire you. When in water, you must know how to swim. When doing things, you must know how to be flexible. Do not drag friends onto your path. Find friends on your journey. In crowd psychology, there is a saying, in a crowd, each individual is like a grain of dust, easily blown away by the wind anywhere. Not fitting in is not because of loneliness, but because of independence of soul. Such people remain in the flow of people. Do not blindly follow the crowd, but listen to their inner voice and follow their own choices. Loneliness is the best form of cultivation. Psychology has pointed out that people who know how to enjoy solitude have a higher level of self-acceptance mentally. Anyone who knows how to use their alone time, not wasting it on meaningless social relationships, will make their spirit rich and full.